Everybody hates the new Star Wars movies. We all sat in dark theaters and watched Disney absolutely decimate the very foundation of this IP. And while there have been plenty of videos discussing the inane plot points, horrible characters, and general lack of forethought, I don't think anyone has ever really asked the question, why do we care? Why is it that in a sea of terrible movies, these movies hurt us so much? And what lessons can we learn about writing compelling stories from these failures? Is Star Wars just magical? Or are we all man-children who cry about movies made for babies?
Oh!
Hey, look at that guy. He stepped in the dookie. I laughed and clapped when he stepped in the dookie. So come with me, my pretties. We are going to go on an adventure to not simply examine the failure of Star Wars, but to dissect ourselves and how this series made us care. In the process, we might figure out why these movies not only sucked, but how they ruined half a century of creativity and why their mistakes are so offensive. So for the upteenth time, let's watch a YouTube video about Star Wars.
Here we go again.
Chapter 1, why do we even care? There's a lot of shitty movies out there. All you need to do is go to a movie theater, and chances are most of what they're showing is garbage, just like Madam Web, Argyle, Lisa Frankenstein, Night Swim, another fucking Godzilla movie. Oh, is that a robot arm? Why does Kong have a robot arm? Does it jerk off his massive 3-story cock? Or you could get one of the over 200 streaming services and look at their movies. There's so much crap you can't even find decent movies you're looking for. You search for Star Wars and Netflix doesn't have it, but it does have Rebel Moon. Hey, what is this crap? I just want to see a guy in black armor swing his laser sword at his son. Great job, Zack Snyder, you did it again! After watching a crappy movie, you usually just go on with your life. The bad movie is just a blemish on an otherwise happy existence. But with Star Wars, so many people lost their minds over these horrible movies. What's going on? Maybe it's because Star Wars is part of an established series that has only produced quality works previously. No, wait, that's not true. The prequel movies were piles of garbage as well, but no one was too torn up over them. I mean, yeah, they sucked, but they didn't ruin all of Star Wars. They've actually become a bit of a guilty pleasure in a so bad it's good way, where decades later fans can celebrate the fact that Lucas at least tried something new, even though he failed in hilarious fashion. Star Wars also isn't the first series to have awful media attached to it after the fact. The Lord of the Rings movies are some of the best fantasy movies ever made, but then Amazon spent $1 billion to ruin everything. They turned Galadriel from a wise, calm lady into a girl boss who hates men and swings her sword around. Jurassic Park has gone from a nuanced look at man's relation with nature to a movie where Chris Pratt punches people and rides motorcycles. In fact, one of my favorite movies, My First Lesbian Sex Volume 1, was followed up with the disastrous My First Lesbian Sex Volumes 2 through 48, and the characters from the first one weren't even in the sequels. I wanted to see what happened with Danny Daniels, you hacks! Her character arc wasn't even resolved! None of that shit made anyone as angry as they are today about Star Wars, so what did Disney do to fuck things up so badly? Chapter 2. It's in the writing, stupid. So let's say you're making a fantasy universe. If you're a good writer, you have to establish a few things that make sense in the universe. These things can be absolutely wild and crazy, but so long as you apply rules to them and have in-universe reasoning for why these rules are present, everything works out. Hey, did any of you guys see that new Dune movie? The one with Timothy Chalamet, the kid from Wonka? No, not that one. Or that one. Yeah, that's the one. In Dune, you got fat guys floating around, big-ass sandworms, and Christopher Walken rules the galaxy.
Paul Atreides, the spice must flow.
All of that shit is crazy, but every single thing in Dune has a logical, in-universe explanation for why it works. Hell, in the David Lynch movie, they even have more wild shit from the book, like the Space Guild of strange entities that ingest spice and then throw it up in order to make spaceships travel fast. It's absolutely absurd, but everything has in-universe rules that govern them, so it works out. Frank Herbert had a wild idea, and then he used his creativity to make it grounded. That's what a good fantasy writer does. They take the extraordinary and make it seem possible and relatable. Good writers also finish their books. I'm looking at you, George.
Also, you may not know, but there's this book that I'm writing. It's a little late.
Go fuck yourself. Frank Herbert was also a horrible homophobe who disowned his son for being gay. But, he made Dune, so I guess it kind of evens out. You can put anything crazy in your movie, as long as you make it make sense. When Charlie and Willy Wonka rode that elevator attached to a string into the sky, no one thought that was crazy, because they already saw all the insane shit Willy Wonka had. The man had a disgusting worm tunnel and a bunch of midgets dancing around. Of course he had a space elevator. Oh my god, you can't say that word anymore. Let me try that again. Willy Wonka had a totally okay tunnel with pictures of beautiful earthworms and a bunch of midgets too. There we go. The worm people won't get mad at me now. You gotta watch out for those worm people.
You know what they say, the early bird catches the worm.
Anyway, in Star Wars, there's a lot of crazy things. You got laser swords, big space boobies that blow up planets, roofie magic, and a bunch of weird aliens like Tentacle Head, Devil Man, and Black Guy. But everything is grounded with rules that make sense. The laser swords are made with special crystals. The big space boobie was made by an empire with crazy resources. All the aliens are connected via interstellar travel and meet at a big senate. It all kind of makes sense. Wait a minute, is that E.T.? Oh my god, are there E.T. Jedi? Why hasn't Disney made that movie yet? So when a series of movies has rules to everything, generally, any sequel must adhere to those rules. Otherwise, it ruins the initial movies. If you don't adhere to the rules initially established, then it throws everything from the first movies into chaos. In Doom Part 1, there are sandworms that are super scary, but if you're a Fremen, you can ride one. So in Doom Part 2, when Paul meets the Fremen and learns from them, he learns how to ride one. In the first Lord of the Rings movie, it's explained that the One Ring can only be destroyed in the fires of Mordor.
The ring cannot be destroyed, Gimli, son of Gloin, by any craft that we here possess.
Hey, I just said that. So in the third one, they throw it in and it's destroyed. Fuck you, Gollum. I'll see you in the Gollum game. In 50 Shades of Grey, Dakota Johnson is a whore who can't act. So in 50 Shades Darker, she's still a whore who can't act. It's called progress. So let's take a look at some rules in the Star Wars universe as established by the first 3 movies. These are just the first 4 I can think of, but I guarantee you'll think of more after you get where I'm going with this. 1. It takes a lot of training to become a Jedi. 2. Spaceships don't have fuel and fly using space magic. 3. Spaceships can't kamikaze into things. Well, except for that one Asian guy in Jedi. Oh yeah, and also the Asian lady in Episode 8. What does Star Wars have against Asians?
The war is over. Lord Sidious promised us peace. We only want...
4. The Empire is defeated by the rebels at the end. So if you're making Star Wars sequels, movies that take place after the other movies, you should adhere to the basic rules of the universe. Let's see how Disney did that. 1. Rey is good at everything without training. 2. Suddenly ships can run out of fuel. 3. This bullshit. 4. Another big space titty shoots another laser, but this time it's a bigger space titty, and it shoots a bigger laser. Let's take the infamous Holdo maneuver as an example of why these movies hurt so much to watch. This is the scene where man-children say,
"Whoa, did you see how all the colors went muted and the soundtrack stopped? Talk about cool!"
What they don't realize is that this scene fundamentally destroys the entire Star Wars universe faster than a fleet of Star Destroyers with Death Star lasers on them. Oh god, that actually happened. Oh my god, I'm so sorry to make you remember that. I blocked it out with years of drinking and drug use. I never thought. I know that deep in Star Wars lore, there's a bunch of stupid ass reasons why that was like a 1 in a million maneuver, but to normal people who don't live in basements, this scene ruined everything. When you watch this scene, you think, huh, why didn't the rebels just do that when they had to fight the Death Star? In fact, why are there spaceships at all? Why not just duct tape a droid to a bomb with hyperdrive and shoot it into other people? Oh, I'm so sorry, everyone. Your deaths are completely meaningless. You could have just blown up the Death Star by putting CP3 on one of those big ships and launching it at the space nipple. Where's the space nipple? It's right there. I know you've all thought of it. So basically, when a sequel doesn't stick to the rules of the universe, it suddenly makes you question every character and decision made in the original movies. It makes you rightly believe everyone is stupid. You think, hey, why are you doing this? Why don't you do this instead? The characters that you know and love become morons. Speaking of which, Chapter 3, the characters were raped right before our eyes. Before these movies came out, if you ask me, I would say Luke Skywalker is a hopeful Jedi Knight who is honorable and brave. Han Solo is a thief with a heart of gold who abandoned his selfish ways to help his friends. Leia is a sassy badass. These are tried and true archetypes, and Star Wars portrays them perfectly. Any sequel would likely build on these archetypes, right? Wrong. We'll get to that in a second though. Just like we can't radically change the rules of the universe for sequels, so too should we not radically alter the characters or undo their arcs. What do I mean by that? Well, every character has an arc, just like me. I was born an adorable morbidly obese child to a whore in a trailer park. But now, after trials and tribulations, I've grown into a morbidly obese alcoholic who lives in a trailer park. Talk about change! Change is what makes stories entertaining. You want to see a character grow and learn and evolve. Watching the same character punch someone in the face and not change is boring. Unless you're a DC fan.
Actually, the arcs in the DC movie series have as much depth as any scene in classic literature, and it takes a keen mind
that's
to
great.
appreciate
Thank you.
the subtle
I'll
differences
see you in the
between-
comment section. So generally, good writers give characters arcs where they're fundamentally a different person by the end of a series. Luke was a little bitch who whined all the time, but after getting his ass kicked and working hard, he became a wise Jedi. Han Solo was a money-grubbing asshole. He became a selfless leader. Leia was a sassy lady that got captured. Now she's a sassy lady that rescues her friends. You reach the end of the movies recognizing that the characters have changed, and in the future they will likely be different than they were before. It's like at the end of Jedi when everyone is at that party with the teddy bears. You think, I wonder what adventures this group of people I have seen grown and change will go on to next. I'm sure none of us expected a heroic Jedi to be drinking milk out of the tit of my mother. So if you're making a sequel, you have to show the characters as they were at the end of the arc and have them grow from there. I mean, they can go through another character arc, but you have to start at the right place. Isn't that right, JJ? Kathleen? Am I right? This is perhaps the most egregious move by J.J. Abrams, Kathleen Kennedy, and Rian Johnson. Or is it Rain? I never really know. These three musketeers of horseshit gave us characters that were fundamentally different from what we saw at the end of episode 6. I remember feeling the first inkling of worry when I saw the first episode 7 teaser. It was a single short clip. We see Han Solo and Chewbacca come into the Millennium Falcon, and Han Solo says,
Chewie, we're home.
Man-children everywhere soiled themselves, but I thought that line was kinda weird. Han Solo in episode 4 is the dashing rogue who lives life on the edge. The Millennium Falcon was the only thing he really cared about then, that and money. But by the end of the series, he didn't really give a shit about the Millennium Falcon. He even let Lando pilot it at the end while he played pranks on stormtroopers. Now that's the ingenuity I would expect from a rebel general. Good job, Han. Sure, he wanted Lando to bring it back in one piece, and he looked kinda sad to see it go. But did the Han Solo of episode 6 really give a shit about that pile of junk?
What a piece of junk!
Probably not. He loved Leia. He was doing things for the rebels that made him happy. Sure, he liked the ship, but it wasn't his entire world. It certainly wasn't his home. He had grown into someone who had fallen in love, and material things no longer held the same weight for him. But now in episode 7, he's left Leia and gone back to being a mercenary loser. The theater I was in clapped when Harrison Ford jumped onto the screen. But I didn't. I couldn't stop laughing. You have 200-year-old Harrison Ford wearing the same outfit from half a century ago and acting like a roguish swashbuckler, jumping around and shooting people. It's ridiculous. The man qualifies for AARP. Let him sit down, for God's sakes. Everything that we learned about him was reversed. The character we watched undergo an engaging arc has regressed to his former juvenile self, and the audience is left with the feeling of disappointment. It's like if someone is an alcoholic and they go to AA, get their tokens, and then years later fall back into their ways. You're disappointed they couldn't grow and change. People like watching growth. That's why I don't even bother going to AA. You can't be disappointed if you never try. Han Solo being an immature idiot makes the audience realize everything they watched was for nothing. I mean, shit, wouldn't it have been more fulfilling to see him as kind of a family man? Someone who loved Leia and had put all his antics behind him, someone who's grown. Maybe he gets pulled into the adventure reluctantly. The heroes come across him and need his help, but he says, no, I don't do that anymore. Then Leia nags him to go, and he's like,
"Hey, Leia, I'm 70 years old. Let me sit down and watch droid football."
Then Leia convinces him to help out by reminiscing on the man who sacrificed a big payday to help the rebels. Then when he dies, Leia would feel more guilt and attachment to him. I don't know, it just kind of makes sense. Or what about Luke, the hopeful youth who always tried his best to do what was right? Hey Kathleen, what do you think about him?
I did pose this provocative idea, who is Luke Skywalker?
Who is Luke Skywalker? What kind of stupid-ass question is that? He's a guy that refused to kill Space Hitler because he saw good in him. Oh boy, I wonder what this hopeful and wise Jedi Knight will do when faced with the dark side. What's that? My apprentice and nephew is starting to be kind of bad? Well, I better murder him in his sleep. Sorry, Kylo. Oh my god, he's going to kill Adam Driver. Hey, I haven't finished watching Girls yet. At least let me finish watching Girls first.
Got soup.
While I'm totally fine with Luke being an old hermit disillusioned by the Force, his path to that place should have been explored more than not at all. Maybe show Luke running his own Jedi temple, and then Kylo and his Knights of Ren came and killed everyone, and Luke decided to leave everything behind. You know, like what they told us happened instead of showing us anything. Well, at least they showed a scene where Luke Skywalker trained a horrible clay monster trying to look like Leia how to swing a laser sword.
Oh my god, look at that face!
Don't you think it might be important to show us what the main character of the last 3 films was up to? JJ? Ryan? Kathleen? Ah, fuck it. If we saw all that, when Luke told Rey that the Force kind of sucked, we would understand why. He could talk about how his actions led to the deaths of millions of people, and he's not sure about things. Have him be a contemplative old man who is hesitant to take action against evil because he realizes there are a lot of shades of gray in the universe, and he doesn't want to blow up millions of people again. But ultimately, he gets back in the fight because he has hope that he can help the galaxy at large. Oh, geez, I'm sorry. I started talking about how to fix these movies. It's so easy, it's hard to avoid. Anyway, the point of this rant is twofold. First, any sequel that ignores the established rules of a universe or the arcs of their characters is setting itself up for failure. And second, $2 margarita night at Senor Loco's Taco Palace is a huge mistake and will lead to you drunkenly ranting about Star Wars in a voice that is stolen from a superior channel. I mean, in a voice that pays tribute to a superior channel. It's like Oscar Wilde once said, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Oh wait, that's not the whole quote. He says, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can pay to greatness. Maybe that voice wasn't a great idea. Oh God. Please don't sue me.
For any of you writers out there, I want this video to serve as a warning and a guide. When you embark on telling a story, if the story takes place in a fantastic universe very different from our own, you must establish rules. And if you don't adhere to those rules, it will fundamentally harm a viewer's enjoyment of your work. Furthermore, if you have characters that undergo a significant change, having them revert back to who they were prior to completing their arc will rob your readers or viewers of fulfillment. The reason Star Wars has hurt so many people is that by changing the rules of the universe and altering the trajectory of their heroes, they basically slapped their fans in the face.
He could even keep the ones he cared about from dying.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Not from a Jedi.
So that was a fucking lie.
You liked grown-up and hopeful Luke? Fuck you, he murders children now. Oh geez, is that like a Skywalker thing? Can murdering children be genetic? I can't wait to see what Rey does with the children she teaches. Third time's a charm. I think none of us can get over these horrid movies because they forever scar an otherwise amazing story. While the prequels sucked, you could still mostly go back to the original trilogy and enjoy it. Sure, you couldn't listen to any of Yoda's wisdom without thinking of midichlorians and the fact that he couldn't see the most blatantly evil person for what he was, but other than that, everything was fine. Darth Vader's origin story revealed him to be a crybaby who embraced authoritarianism, but he still looked cool and acted tough, so you could easily erase it from your mind. You could just chalk it up to him being an angsty teen before he became Space Hitler. Everything is fine, except for that stupid fucking edit where Lucas put Hayden Christensen as a ghost. Didn't Luke only know his father as this guy? Wouldn't he look at that ghost and be like, who the fuck is that? Unfortunately for us, the sequel trilogy has actively ruined the original trilogy. Unless you completely divorce the new movies from the old ones, which, trust me, Senor Loco and I have been trying with these $2 margaritas, you can't really enjoy the old movies as you once did. You watch them and think, why don't they just have a ship hit the Death Star? Why is Luke so bad at being a Jedi when Rey became one instantly? Wow, we did it, guys. We defeated the space titty and the bad guy. Oh wait, no we didn't.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
This is also why I don't give a shit about any of these Star Wars shows or other movies they have planned. The series is irreparably ruined, and unless you go the Andor route of focusing on things before the sequels, you won't generate any interest from me. When thinking about how Disney ruined all of this, I think Mike Stoklasa of Red Letter Media, you know, the guy who does the Plinkett voice, put it best when he said,
you know, it's a good analogy. White trash winning the lottery. Do you know what I mean? Here, white trash, here's $100 million. Oh, gee whiz.
I'm gonna buy a mansion and a car, and we're gonna...
I'm gonna buy a mansion, I'm gonna give $10 million to my brother Cletus. I'm gonna buy this. You have to pay taxes on that. Oh, you can't do that because you have to maintain upkeep on owning 15 horses, and that costs $100 grand a year for. I went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Disney blew their load without any forethought and forever ruined this series. There may be glimpses of its former glory, but unless they retcon these 3 cinematic abortions, which they won't, who else wants to see more Rey movies? Star Wars as we know it is dead. All it can offer us now is a warning. Should you wish to write stories, fan fictions, comics, video games, or whatever, just remember, adhere to established laws of your universe and don't regress your characters. Okay, I guess that's it. Bye!
Disney has acquired Lucasfilm for $4 billion and announced that a new Star Wars film will be made for 2015.
We're thrilled that George has entrusted the future of his extraordinary legacy to the Walt Disney Company and recognize what an honor it is.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
I bypassed the compressor.
They fly now?
As the last day of the Republic! I'm the spy.
We truly understand the responsibility that comes with being the caretakers of such iconic characters that are beloved by hundreds of millions all over the world.
completely confident that Disney, you know, will take good care of the franchise I've built.